I'm Captain Steve, and this is the Barnelfish Express. Let's dive into the liberal hive mind's point of view and see how bad his biased conclusion is. Do you want to guess what that conclusion might be? It basically boils down to, quote, comply or die.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left.
Ah yes, the abundant hypocrisy of the left, like there isn't any hypocrisy on the right.
Well, unfortunately I was right again. My prediction was right on the money.
And of course he's right. He's always right, because he portrays everything in the light of his team doing no wrong.
And I'm not saying that to gloat because, it's not exactly a prediction that I'm happy about. But I've been saying this basically all year. Things are going to get worse. Things are going to get crazier. The closer we get to 2026, the more chaotic everything will become. I said very clearly, if you thought the Tesla riots were the worst, if you thought the government shutdown was going to be the last of the craziness, well, you have another thing coming. Democrats will continue to sow chaos up until the day they regain their political power.
Oh, I agree it's going to get worse. I'm 100% sure that there's a Tiananmen Square massacre. It will happen under Donald Trump. You gotta swing that big dick energy for all the boys in the red hats, but not for the girls. Not for the girls. Being attracted to girls is gay in MAGA world, apparently. This is something that I learned recently.
So, of course, the chaos continues, or rather the chaos escalates here. I mean, holy friggin' crap. The situation in Minnesota continues to be completely unhinged and uncontrollable, and that's now led to a situation where an armed rioter met the ultimate faith in an encounter with CBP agents. And of course, you know exactly what the left is going to run with. They're now making the argument that it was an execution in broad daylight, a totally unjustified execution. And of course, the media is going to run with it, just like they did with Renee Good. But obviously, this lethal encounter is only unjustified if you omit all the most important factors, all the surrounding context. It's only unjustified if you cherry-pick particular points, like his firearm being removed by one of the agents on scene, and then ignore every other factor.
God, it's like he's projecting. Is that the right word? Yeah, of course if you ignore facts and cherry pick and ignore the surrounding context, it is unjustified. And if you ignore the facts and surrounding context, it is justified. Crazy how that works out. Depends on the narrative you're trying to spin. Most things are shades of gray, but it's rare to find anything political online nowadays that isn't glaringly black and white. Can we guess where he goes with this?
So as per usual, everyone's getting all emotional. Let's try to cut through all that emotion, all the hysteria, and of course all the partisan gamesmanship. And let's simply analyze the facts here. Let's try to do some common sense analysis. Let me show you guys exactly what I think. We got some stuff to get into. So let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so first off, we have to acknowledge the crux of the left-wing argument. We have to acknowledge what appears to be the case. I've seen multiple video footage, and it does appear as though the individual's firearm was taken by one of the CBP agents on scene.
Seen multiple videos, only shows the video that actually proves his point in slow-mo for the seconds that actually revolve around his narrative. Yes, he's seen all the videos, and the conclusion he comes to is this one showing, 15 seconds of slow-mo and a couple of circles. A gun in hand, being pulled from the suspect, walking away, death.
And this, of course, is what the entire left-wing argument is predicated upon.
Look, I wouldn't say the left's entire argument is predicated upon him being disarmed before summarily having nearly a full clip emptied into him. Last I heard, it was 10 shots fired. I think a lot of it is predicated upon the context that the hive mind says is missing and doesn't provide. Context being the events leading up to Alex losing his life. Let's watch, shall we? No, it isn't as cut and dry as the left portrays it if you radical right-wing retards actually expanded on the whole picture you purport to portray. Context, people. Damn.
They took his firearm, therefore, the threat was nullified, and then they just executed him for literally no reason, as if federal officers would just shoot someone without feeling any perceived threat. But the real world obviously doesn't move in slow motion. And while it appears as though they took the firearm and there was all kinds of time, That obviously wasn't the situation, and when you look at the footage, the time between the shots and the firearm being removed from the suspect is actually less than 1 second.
Sure, but the real question is, how did we get here?
And obviously there was some sort of miscommunication there. The officer who took that weapon off of the suspect didn't make that clear to his colleagues. And so you have less than 1 second where this individual who's resisting arrest
Using his phone to film ICE agents arresting and detaining suspected brown people, content escalated to a confrontation that left Alex and bystanders being shoved around and pepper sprayed. Can't imagine that being fun. He's then dragged out into the street and jumped by ICE thugs. He's beaten, he's kicked, and he's shoved around. Like, I'm not seeing any of this, quote, context that the Hivemind is talking about to justify this brutality. I mean, have any of you been jumped by a small mob? What's your line from protecting yourself to resisting arrest?
who's being physical with these officers. He was identified to be holding a deadly weapon. It appeared at one point as if he was grabbing something. Agents are yelling gun, 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 and then lethal force was used. It's not as cut and dry as the left is making it seem.
Look, this isn't as cut and dry as the right is making it seem. These protesters standing up for the rights of others are under immense pressure. And you have federal agents who are radicalized enough by Trump and company to feel justified in exercising their authority. In this case, they have deadly weapons. They get physical with protesters. They confront them. They escalate. They fight. And they try to arrest them. I mean, what do you think is going to happen in this environment? You have unhinged ICE agents that have been told they have immunity to do fuck all whatever to go after these protesters. Having half a dozen macho men screaming at you to do different things and yelling at each other, it's hard for someone to figure out what exactly they need to do to comply. Or die if they don't. Gosh, I wonder who will get that.
These CBP and ICE officers are under immense pressure, and you have people on the streets here who have been radicalized to confront them in these operations, in this case with deadly weapons, being physical with them, confronting them, obstructing them, resisting arrest, fighting them off. I mean, what do you think is going to happen in this environment? You have an unhinged leftist mob on the streets.
Unhinged leftist mob. It was him and two other people.
Blowing whistles like crazy. The officers themselves can't hear properly. People are screaming everywhere. They're under attack. How are they expected to be 100% perfect and analyze the entire situation?
Yeah, it's called de-escalation. Don't escalate something to the point where you have to have a mob of people jump somebody.
All of that, all of the most important context, and just say the weapon was removed, therefore, then sure, you could come to the conclusion that this was unjustified. But if you have half a brain and if you're honest, you're going to look at the whole picture. And the obvious issue here is the Democrat mob, this chaotic environment that Democrats are enabling. The truth of the matter is that CBP agents should not have to deal with this to begin with. And you also notice that all of this, it's all happening in Minneapolis and Minnesota. Well, that tells you all that you need to know. We're not seeing this kind of chaos happening in Republican states where the governors are actually complying with federal agents. And we're not even seeing this in other Democrat states, no.
But if you have half a brain, and if you're honest, you're going to look at the whole picture. The obvious issue here is the MAGA mob taking over blue cities. This didn't start with ICE. It started with Trump shitting on those that didn't kiss his ass on command, then deploying the National Guard against the governor's requests. What happened to states' rights in this instance? All right, only one is in line with the MAGA agenda. This is a chaotic environment already that Trump and Kristi Noem have been dumping fuel on. Yeah, no shit, we aren't seeing this happen in red areas. I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that red states are totally cool with what's going on. And, shockingly, blue states are not.
Only in radical Minneapolis, Minnesota, the same place where we saw the George Floyd riots. I think the common denominator here is that far leftists and Democrat leaders in the state of Minnesota will enable abject chaos, will continue to cause this chaos and frankly engineer these tragedies because they believe that it's useful to them politically when Donald Trump is in charge. And again, we're stuck in this situation where it's being politicized. You know, we can't actually have a proper debate with the left. We can't analyze these situations at all because for the left, it's a foregone conclusion. And now it's a matter of grasping at straws and trying to find every little argument to further demonize ICE agents and Donald Trump and claim that America is falling to fascism.
I mean, fascism, I can kind of see that. The more and more that Congress cedes power to Trump to write executive orders and rule via, even the Supreme Court gave him absolute immunity, he can do pretty much whatever the hell he wants. Yes, that's technically not historical fascism, but that's pretty goddamn close. It's nice to throw up a warning sign or fire a flare in the air, before it actually gets that bad. But who am I?
And one of those arguments is, well, he was a legal gun owner, therefore he had a permit to carry, therefore the shooting was unjustified.
Look, the legal gun owner argument is from the right as far as I can find. Or at a minimum, it's being co-opted by the right to justify being shot and killed. I mean, please prove me wrong if in fact I am. But it's gaslighting 101. and the Trump administration's modus operandi since taking office. I mean, shit, since he decided to get into politics. God, since he learned there are enough stupid people out there that buy his bullshit. Control the narrative by flooding the zone, as Steve Bannon says. Get as many talking points on the board as possible and defend or condemn them and point fingers at the enemy, in this case, the enemy from within, which we all know are Democrats. Well, hell, at this point, I'm pretty sure the enemy is anyone who questions anything the Cheeto-in-Chief declares. The Marmalade Messiah said it. 'Tis must be true, my lord. Burn the heretics.
What does that even mean? Obviously that doesn't change anything, whether the firearm was legal or not. And if anything, I think it works against him, because if he had a permit, well, that means he was likely trained. And in said firearm training, well, probably the first thing that you're told is to always disclose that you're carrying a weapon to law enforcement.
Yeah, well, assuming he was trained well, he would know that in Minnesota, you do not have to inform law enforcement you are armed unless detained. Keyword, and asked to disclose. Link in the description.
This guy intentionally chose to dress up as a military character.
Yeah, and I don't think he's dressed up as military at all. Like, what an absolute bullshit right-wing talking point that is not even close to being true. I take that back. Maybe Carhartt's a part of the new military uniform. I need to go swing by a Tractor Supply and have them verify for me. I will get back to you guys.
Purposely showed up at this riot, and not only showing up, but showing up armed. And he wasn't there to just sit on the side and protest these officers. No, he was getting in their face. He was in the middle of the road. ICE agents aren't playing games with these people anymore. They're pushing them off to the side, and then instead of cooperating, while carrying a weapon, he gets in a physical confrontation with these officers and starts fighting them off. I mean, he made multiple stupid decisions that put himself in a very precarious situation that ultimately, and unfortunately,
Yeah, it was a precarious situation. One that didn't have to be like that. He wasn't in their faces until they came at him. Then it was pepper spray in his face, then fists. And it looks like pavement at one point. Again, that context you keep talking about. The parts of the video that you did not show.
led to his demise, just like Renee Good. I can't see it any other way.
Of course you can. It's your business model.
I don't think it matters if he was legally carrying a weapon or not. The criminal act of interfering with federal operations and then getting physical with these agents after they told you to get off the street and to then further escalate the situation, that then puts you in an armed conflict with federal agents. These are not teddy bears, my friends. These are lethal, trained federal agents.
Oh my God, trained, Jesus.
Is frankly irrelevant. I'll be able to give the left one thing. In a perfect world, do I believe that this was a justified shooting? Probably not. We don't live in a perfect world.
Oh my God, this is going to be weird, but I agree with him. But you still haven't articulated what individual actions that Alex did to lead to the cause of his death, other than him showing up. I mean, if that's the kind of justification you're looking for, like you could blame his dad for him dying because he didn't pull out before he was born. But look, if ICE was properly trained, properly scrutinized, properly reprimanded instead of J.D. Vance telling them they have immunity, maybe ICE would try de-escalating, like they're supposed to, the situation before dude-broing themselves into beating the shit out of the guy and killing him.
And you also have to account this individual's actions. And I think the plausible deniability and the potential explanation for, what was going on in these CBP agents' heads.
Yeah, it was probably fucking bitch.
In between the firearm allegedly being removed from his person and what looks like the suspect grabbing something. We could freeze the frame.
Yeah, right here. Sure. You can freeze the frame and write a narrative about what you think might happen that supports your narrative, especially when you don't actually play the whole damn video. Yeah, Alex could have been reaching for his gun. He could also just have been disoriented after getting his ass kicked by a team of thugs. Like, I don't know, 6-1, maybe? Consider it?
Right over here. And again, instead of complying, he seems to get up.
Hey, maybe it's easier to comply to lawful orders when you aren't getting your face beaten in? Maybe? I don't know. Let me know in the comments.
His arm towards his waist, and this is happening all within less than a second as they've already identified that he had a weapon on him. It's hard to tell intent, but again, this is not how you engage with federal officers. They clearly sensed a threat and they handled it accordingly. And also, just because this individual's firearm was taken, who's to say that he didn't have another?
Yeah, sure. Have another. Could have had a knife, machine gun. Could have had a tiny leprechaun in his pocket that was ready to jump out and start biting on their fingers. We don't know. We'll never know.
When he's been identified as a person who is armed and he is not complying but rather fighting off officers, When it looks like he's trying to grab something, you don't just assume that he's got nothing. It's possible he had a second firearm. It's possible he had a knife. You don't know as the officer in that situation. And speaking of variables and factors, it's also possible that the suspect himself wasn't even unaware that his firearm was taken off of his person. When you've got all these hands on...
God, I love how he keeps listing all these coulda, woulda, shoulda, maybe, mighta happened, you never know what, lightning strike, blah, blah, blah. And then claiming the left only has the argument that his firearm... Yeah, I guess that's all they have. I haven't been on the internet in forever, so I have no idea.
Touched in different locations. Well, who's to say that he wasn't aware that the gun was unholstered and he was going to grab for it and then, it wasn't there? There are so many factors here. And while the left is making the argument that, the officer taking his firearm off of his body, that basically immediately means guilt to all law enforcement parties involved, I completely disagree. And I think that actual taking of his gun, in my view, is immaterial here. I think the shooting was justified. And that might be a controversial take. Look, I don't give a crap. I'm even seeing some right-wingers siding with the left here. I just don't see it that way. I saw an individual engaging in multiple crimes, being armed as he was engaging in multiple crimes. He knew that he was armed. He should have told those agents that he was armed.
Okay, he's just repeating points from earlier in his video. Wait a minute, this isn't the Steve Bannon flooding the zone thing, is it? Probably not. But I have read that if you just repeat the same thing over and over and over, you sound like Trump. You sound like Trump and you convince people that you're correct. You tell people something, one thing long enough, they'll believe it.
They're doing it on purpose. This is the Democrat 2026 midterm strategy to sow chaos and destruction and pin it all on Donald Trump. They're using their idiotic, radicalized lemmings, purposely putting them in harm's way and then hoping things are going to go sideways, which they can then politicize.
Oh my God, he just keeps going and going and going, interjecting his opinion and his right-wing bent on everything that he looks at. I thought this was going to be a comment video on the actual shooting going on up there. And he is just interjecting all this right-wing bullshit. I'm surprised he's not trying to convince people that the earth is flat at this point. No wonder people that listen to like Fox News and stuff's brains melt. Good God.
Democrat minions will continue to engage in street-level terrorism. You simply cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Why are you poisoning the bathwater then with statements like this?
I get this is another tragedy, but you can't get wrapped up in one emotional situation and then be led to make a completely irrational decision. And again, the fault in my view lies with this guy going to confront these agents with a deadly frickin' weapon. Am I crazy here?
Hell yeah, I think you're crazy. Or a talented grifter with a large audience that needs rage fuel. I mean, I've been a subscriber since like my good old Let's Go Brandon days. I do recall your videos weren't nearly as extreme though. The assumptions in this one are pretty bad.
And obviously, the larger fault lies straight at the feet of Tim Walz and Jacob Fry, who continue to enable this stuff. It lies with the Democrat Party, who continues to radicalize their base, sending them on the streets as a mob to attack these ICE agents. It's the left-wing rhetoric that is fueling all of this. It's an intimidation campaign. It's a blackmail campaign.
But don't forget, this is all Democrats' fault and some deep state conspiracy to win the midterms. Get your base out there, rattle them up, and get them killed. Turn out and vote. I'm pretty sure Trump's economic ignorance was already losing him the midterms. Like, this isn't... Losing the midterms is not a new thing. This has been in the news and you've been hearing about that for months.
Republican governor is doing. Work with federal law enforcement. Call for peace. Peaceful protest, sure, but condemn the violence and the obstruction and the chaos. Pull your leftist thugs off the streets in Minnesota, and all of this instantly goes away. It's literally that simple, but unfortunately, people are falling for the fascism narrative. And that, I gotta tell you, in a certain way is really starting to blackpill me. It's obvious what the Democrats are doing. It's also obvious what they're not doing. It's obvious what they should be doing. It's obvious what they're up to. And yet somehow, people are falling for it.
Oh, and wait, yes. Yes, I do think it's obvious what's going on. There's enough of a propaganda machine that curates and pumps out a one-sided narrative that effectively captures the attention of and brainwashes their audience. God, and enough podcasters and social media influencers to help carry that narrative. Like, I swear we're watching the death of critical thinking in real time. It's not just this video and this channel.
And I think they're going to be politically rewarded. Although, of course, time will tell, and we'll see if common sense once again enters the room ahead of the midterms. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching.
Oh yeah, this was actually a lot of fun to make. I do plan on there being a next one, and maybe a few more after that. I hope you found this entertaining and informative. And with that, I'll see you at the dock.